Welcome to the First 16. Thank you for stopping by and checking out today's episode. We're going to be breaking down some of the context of good mechanics and awareness on the court. So, like all the rest of the episodes that are out, if you are interested in really grasping some of the details of officiating, specifically two-person, make sure you check those out. So, without further ado, let's get busy. All right, let's get right to it. First 16, in this particular play, we're going to be focusing on where the trail official is, also where the foul is called, and also we're going to be focusing on if a rotation is necessary. So let's get right to it. All right, first and foremost, our official is too far behind. We want to be in line with the ball handler. Also, we want to focus on where we are on the court. We want to be here. We want to be running down this specific little road here to make sure that we have a good visual on the particular play. Okay, so on top of that, we're going to move into a foul situation. All right, the foul is called. Foul is going to be right about here, and after this is called, there is going to be a specific movement by the lead. Now, is this right or wrong? It depends on the communication that happens between the partners. So let's go through this and see how this comes about. Now, the trail has decided that he wants the ball to be taken out here. He has decided that this particular foul is going to be here. There's no reason for the lead to come up. However, there was a communication back and forth, nonverbal. All right, you take it over there. So the switch happens. Does it hurt anything? Does it effectively look like the officials don't know what they're doing? No. It's just one official had made the move up here, and in consideration to that, probably used the division line to make that decision. Now, the reality here is, I would suggest that if we were to go and do this again, I would say that we would take that spot and just take it over here and have our lead go back here and just take the ball in from there. Very simple. So hustling up the court, making sure you're in the position. Also identifying a little bit more strongly, taking out the ball, white sideline, giving him, the partner, a better understanding of what is happening in this scenario. Okay, in this clip, we're going to be focusing on administrating a throw-in and getting it right. The most important thing we can do right here is understand the requirements of the sideline. What are we going to do? We're going to bounce the ball to the player. On the inline, when the team is on offense, we're going to hand the ball. If the ball is below the free throw line and it goes out here and we are here, what are we going to do? Well, it's on the sideline, so we're going to bounce the ball. Those elements are very important, and if you have a detail-oriented evaluator, you can go from having a good game in 93 to 89 in a heartbeat if you do not pay attention to details. So let's push through this and just look at it as it goes. And that's it. A little thing like that that may seem like nothing to people in the crowd is actually going to mean something in your development and your progress. A little handing of the ball when you just got to focus on the key importance, and that is right here, bouncing the ball, getting separation and bouncing the ball. Simple as that. Okay, in this clip we're going to be looking at the trail and how the trail can actually even look better in this positioning. He is maximizing his ability on the court to get a really good look. So let's go right through it. So this is great trail movement. This is great trail movement. He's able to get a good look at what is happening in his primary. His primary is obviously right in this area. The lead has dropped down. Okay. And now the lead is in, we would call this the A section. This is the B section. And this is the C section. So it looks to me as if the lead has now picked up the ball. He has focused on his primary, and he is responsible for what is happening here. When this occurs, the trail has to be able to understand non-verbally that it has been picked up by the lead in the alpha zone. He can then drop down and wait for the next sequence or move in here. All right, so let's continue on this particular play. Okay, so now the ball is back up at the top. Now, we're still in the middle of the court. The play now has moved here. So, what I said earlier is taking that nonverbal and dropping down puts you in a better anticipation of a play that may open up, so that if something happens here and the ball is tapped, you will not end up in the way. So let's continue this play. All right, so all that combined together is communicating non-verbally or with a shake of the head that lead has picked it up, trail now can move a little bit off the ball, and then after that play has moved on, you can push down and drop into a better position as trail. Okay, in this particular clip, we're going to be focusing really on our responsibilities as trail and understanding how we are going to really use our arc and movement and not putting all the pressure on our lead, specifically if we have engagements that are happening on the court. So let's get right to it. Okay, we got a matchup here that is happening. Okay, and we have a matchup here, and then we have, a defensive and an offensive player, big guy down here. Now, can't see what lead's doing, but Lead is most likely doing the discipline thing and watching his primary, has a little look into the trail's position. But most importantly, we want to notice here that our trail is way off from the position, and he is going to start his count. Okay, so what do we want to do? We want to get in a position closer to this action to see what's going on, to minimize taking this lead away from what is happening here. It's all about responsibility and hustling to the spot. So let's go through this. All right, so nothing happened, but there was a tangle up, and the reality is all this the official has to do is step down to get a good look. Getting a good look and getting a position is respecting your partner that is at lead and all the liability that comes with that. So stepping down, getting in position, utilizing the arc movement. Very disciplined part of officiating. All right, in this particular play, we're going to be looking at player control. Now, what we need to understand here is, again, our official should have stepped down, okay? And understanding our primaries are key here. But most importantly, as a new official, sometimes you are going to find yourself in a situation that you don't have a good look on the call. And that is why the trail, if he's in the right spot, is allowed to make this call. But is it encouraged that the lead take responsibility for what happens here? So let's go right through it. All right, so obviously we have a situation where the big guy throws the little guy out of the way. The trail, who is here, who should probably be here, notices it and waits a couple seconds and realizes that the lead may have not seen it or justifiably miscalculated the situation. Okay? But for whatever reason, the trail decides that it is imperative that he jumps in and gets this. This is a call that can irritate other officials, but at the same time, if you work with officials for a long time, they'll just be happy that someone called something and they did it and sold it. And so the most important thing I could say is, when you're working in a situation like this and you see a foul on trail and it's obvious, and you see a little sequence of time in there that is missed, and it's obviously a foul, I believe, specifically when we're dealing with this player control situation, that you are able to make that judgment call and making sure that you communicate to your partner afterwards what you saw, and then maybe get some feedback. So this is a good call, and it is obviously a right call because the player just threw the other player halfway across the street. And so all in all, this is a good crew call. All right, in this particular clip, we're going to be focusing on staying with the ball. Also, when to make that arc move it to drop down to get a better look. Also, focusing on the gray area when the lead and trail have to make the decision to pick up specifically on a 5-second count. So here we go. Trail is sticking with the competitive matchup. All right, so now the competitive matchup has made its way onto the side. Lead seems to acknowledge that it is in his primary. Meanwhile, it still looks like that trail has it. So if this is what is happening, trail, to get a better look, you want to drop down because there's an area right here to see it. However, if you do drop down and you realize that lead has now picked it up, you can now shift your focus into more of this area. And as we see here, we're going to have a gray area situation. So now we're closely guarded. So trail realizes, okay, well, we're right in between that gray area. So gray is going to, the gray area officiating situation is trail is going to pick up and start that 5-second violation. However, if we look down here, lead is also doing it. Now, this can be taken care of in the beginning of the game when you say gray area, free throw extended, 5 seconds, counts, and fouls you can pick up. So just remember that you shouldn't have 2 counts going at the exact same time. So just remember getting in a good position to see, and then staying with the competitive matchup, and also communicating non-verbally or verbally with your partner if they're picking up the matchup, because it could possibly be one's doing a 5-second count and the other one's at 3 and the other one's at 5, and it looks silly. So keep that in consideration. Okay, in this particular clip, we're going to be looking at the importance of the long switch. A foul that happens in the backcourt, you're going to make an effort as the lead to come up and present the foul. Trail is going to come down, and it's just going to be a long switch. So let's look at the clip here. Good call. Gives the designated spot. He's making his way over to the board. And now this right here, tying a shoe, doing the right thing. All we have to do in this situation is go down and move up, and maybe even wait here a second to get his attention and say, hey, make that move. It's all about that accountability in the process of getting it right. So long switches, let's do those. Okay, let's move on to this clip. We're going to talk about 28-foot line and being at the right spot when we are looking at the competitive matchup, and understanding that if we are in our spot, we have to take accountability also for our other primary responsibilities. So let's go. All right, trail's going to come up. Now the competitive matchup has been established now. Very little competitive matchup, but here it is. official is going to be here, which is going to be behind the play. Now, if we're at the 28 over here, we're going to be able to utilize our visual on our primary. That is going to be right here. So remember, anything that is happening in this vicinity is still yours. And if you are moving over into this area here, you're going to be able to identify your competitive matchup and identify what is happening in the post. So let's keep rolling this tape here. So trail now is going to move over. All right, so this is where things get a little sloppy, because now we do have a inline screen, and we need to make sure that we are going to step a little bit down here to get a good grasp on what is happening and be able to see it and see through. It's very, very important. Let's continue here. Okay, so this is really good. So this is moving into the position that you want to do when that ball is over here, because the lead is here. He's already in his A section. All right, and so the ball is probably going to start. You can be relieved here pretty soon if the ball goes below the free throw extended. So let's push on. That's a shot. Okay, so that's a really important part of understanding the arc in not overcompensating your position. You don't want to be behind him. You want to be able to see the play, see it, and see through it, and making sure you have a good visual of your primaries. Okay, in this particular clip, a lot of good things are happening. First of all, great hustle to the inline by the lead. But most importantly, we're going to be focusing on presentation. Okay, we're going to make the call. Nice whistle. We're going to stop, and then we're going to go through a nice smooth indication of what has occurred on the play. After we do that, we're going to communicate to our partner what's the result of everything. And then when we're going to the board, we want to walk or hustle to the board, stop at the appropriate spot, and then present. Keyword here is hustle to the board. You don't gotta like sprint, but hustle to the board, stop, and present. Okay, here we go. All right, good foul. Now what happened? So we want to know what happened. And so if you tell me what happened, even though this official has already sort of established, okay, it's gonna be two shots. But establish that consistency of what has happened in the foul. The first part is great. Now we're gonna move into presentation. Okay, so our presentation box is roughly right about here, and established here is a 2 shots. Now you could stop right here because you're going to end up in this area and then do the presentation. So understanding where your box is and using your voice, making a clean stop and presentation. That is what this clip is really all about. So focusing on that is really important. Moving on with that, making sure that you're in a good free throw position. Yeah. Yep, that's that. This is a really good one to understand and fully acknowledge that can make you really step above the rest when we are in the evaluation process. That stop and presentation is huge. And also during a foul, indicating what has occurred. Okay, in this particular clip, we're going to be thinking about how we interpret a hard foul or intentional. In the context, up in the stands, it looks bad, but on the court, you can see context of if someone's doing it on purpose, or maybe they're just a physical person that doesn't have a lot of control over their body. And after the situation, you're going to be able to identify some of these characteristics of if it was on purpose or it was, wow, that just happened. So let's go through this. All right, officials are going to come in, going to acknowledge the situation. I'm going to bring on the coaches, going to clear the space. Official's gonna get a good look at the player, and before the communication to partner, you're gonna establish what the call is, and they're gonna discuss it. The context of this: is it intentional or is it not? Now, put into perspective, there's like 25 seconds left on the clock, and what most importantly counts here in the context of this is what is the coach's disposition. The officials are going to look back at the coach, and the conclusion is that we said that it wasn't on purpose. He agrees, and we go forth, going forth with the shots. All right, so. And even the players thought it was that we were going to do intentional, but the disposition of the player number 32 here, it was deemed not intentional. All right, good people, that concludes this episode of the First 16. I hope watching this episode you have taken some good notes, and also understand that it's important to go into your rule books and your mechanic book and really see if they're correlating, which they are, and put them into use. I'm always watching film to improve myself, specifically in 2-man as well as 3-man, and I hope you are as well. So, on that note, thank you for stopping by. Subscribe, like, share, and continue working on your game. Have a good one, everybody. Peace out.